My beloved child, I invite you now into the quiet of my presence to breathe deeply and rest your weary spirit in the sanctuary of my unconditional love. I see the turmoil that churns within your heart and mind. I see the scars left by those you once trusted, the confusion and pain that grew from the very soil in which you were supposed to be nurtured. I see you for who you truly are, my cherished creation, precious beyond measure, worthy of healing, growth, and joy. Even if you have walked through life carrying the burdens of complex post-traumatic stress disorder, CPTSD, even if your formative years were steeped in anxiety, shame, or the relentless pursuit of perfection to gain parental approval, know this: I am here, and I long to bring you into wholeness. I long to soothe the hurts you have carried for so long, to renew your mind and free you from the shackles of self-condemnation. The invitation to healing, child, you have journeyed through a desert of pain, shaped by parenting that wounded more than it nurtured. You have grown up learning to distrust your own worth, your own voice, your own beauty. You have endured environments where you might have been judged, belittled, or shamed for merely existing with normal needs and vulnerabilities. The trauma you experienced, whether subtle neglect or overt abuse, may have ingrained in you destructive beliefs, overshadowing the truth of your inherent value. But I come to you now gently, like a breeze that cools scorched earth, offering a wellspring of renewal. I desire your healing, and I speak life over your wounded places. I say to you, rise, beloved, for I have destined you to flourish, to come forth from your suffering with renewed hope. Understanding CPTSD, a wound of the soul, I see the deep layers of your hurt. CPTSD does not merely touch the surface. It infiltrates the heart and mind, often sowing confusion about one's identity. Perhaps you were told, through words, actions, or a parent's unspoken disapproval, that you were not enough, not smart enough, not perfect enough, not worthy enough. The echoes of those messages can reverberate throughout adulthood, forming an inner chorus of condemnation. These echoes are not the truth. They are distortions wrought by parents or caregivers who themselves were broken, who did not reflect the love, nurturance, and acceptance every child deserves. Your pain, my dear one, is real and valid. Yet I assure you that within that pain lies the possibility of profound redemption, cognitive healing, and the renewing of your mind in the journey of recovering from CPTSD. One pivotal aspect is cognitive healing. This healing begins when you allow your mind to grow kinder toward itself, when you identify and gently release the destructive beliefs that were embedded in your psyche during childhood. I have endowed you with the capacity to change, to rewire your thought processes. Through awareness and self-compassion, you can unlearn harmful messages and adopt a healthier, more accurate way of seeing yourself. Recognize destructive beliefs. Begin by noticing the voices of condemnation that arise unbidden in your thoughts. These may say, I'm worthless, I'm permanently broken, or I have to be perfect or I'll be rejected. Such narratives often trace their roots back to caregivers who could not love in a healthy manner. Release false guilt. Many survivors of childhood trauma blame themselves, internalizing the belief that the negative experiences occurred because they were inherently at fault. In truth, it was the poor care and woundedness of those parents that inflicted these beliefs on you. When you are tempted to condemn yourself, remember, you were a child longing for love and safety. It was never your fault that such nurturance was withheld. Embrace a new perspective. Gently practice choosing healthier, more accurate ways to see and speak of yourself. Every thought that passes through your mind can be filtered through the lens of my love. Ask, does this perspective align with the tender value I place on my life? Does this belief reflect the truth that I am deeply loved by God? As you replace destructive beliefs with compassionate truths, your mind begins to heal. The internal critic and the superego in traumatic childhood environments. The child's superego can become fused with ceaseless self-criticism. This transformation arises because the little one is desperate to earn a parent's acceptance. So the child's evolving mind imagines, if I can be absolutely flawless, smart, obedient, perfect, maybe they will love me. But even perfect performance never appeases wounded or neglectful parents. Over time, the child concludes, I must be the problem. Thus, the superego mutates into a severe internal critic, a relentless judge that demands perfection and punishes every perceived flaw. I know it is exhausting, beloved, to live under this tyranny. I see how you strive, scanning each situation for potential mistakes, bracing yourself for the next wave of condemnation, whether from others or from within. But I say to you, enough of this cruelty. You are not required to be perfect for me to cherish you. You are already cherished without condition. Together, we will dismantle the oppressive rule of that internal critic and replace it with a healthier self that can guide you in truth and grace. Toward a healthy sense of self-ego. In psychological terms, the ego can be understood as the conscious I or identity. A healthy ego is a benevolent manager of the mind, capable of self-compassion and self-protection. But in a traumatic childhood environment, parents undermine the natural development of self-worth, making it nearly impossible for a child to form the stable sense of self that fosters resiliency and hope. Instead, the child's attempts at self-care or self-defense are met with shame or punishment. Over time, your ability to see yourself kindly, to stand up for your needs, to trust your own choices was forced into dormancy. The toxic superego overshadowed the healthy self, seeding endless self-criticism and perfectionism. Now, as an adult, you may find that you make decisions out of fear or habit, rather than from a place of genuine engagement with the world. But hear my encouragement. It is never too late to heal. By embracing cognitive healing and psychological education, by reflecting on the ways poor parenting compromised your sense of self, you gain the motivation to rebuild. You recognize which wounds need mending, and you can set out to restore your healthy ego. My role in your healing, I, the one who formed you in the womb, am intimately aware of every crevice of your wounded heart. I do not stand aloof. I long to journey with you in the process of restoring your mind and releasing you from the prison of self-accusation. When you choose to hold on to my promises, those that speak of your worth and potential, you turn the key in the lock that has confined you to shame. Yes, your healing will involve learning new skills, strategies, and understandings. You may engage in therapy, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, or other modalities that shed light on your childhood experiences. Yet, do not be dismayed if early attempts at CBT felt incomplete. While CBT can be immensely valuable for confronting cognitive distortions, you also need healing at deeper emotional layers. Sometimes, you need experiential therapy or somatic therapy or safe relationships that allow you to practice vulnerability and acceptance. Each piece is part of your tapestry of healing. The power of mindfulness, often referred to as mindfulness, this quiet self-observation is a crucial facet of your healing. When you spend dedicated time watching your thoughts, naming your feelings, and responding without harsh judgment, you begin to undo years of internalized condemnation. In that space, you can ask, is this belief something I truly endorse, or was it forced on me by childhood experiences? How am I reacting to this feeling? Am I suppressing it, ignoring it, or shaming myself for it? Or can I permit myself to experience it, to learn from it, and ultimately to move through it? Mindfulness is not about ignoring your struggles. Rather, it is the gentle gaze that witnesses them without condemnation, acknowledging they exist, but also knowing that you are not defined by them. Mindfulness allows you to nurture the observing self, the part of you that can compassionately notice your inner life and hold space for healing. With my help, your witnessing self becomes a loyal friend, guiding you to grow and transform instead of condemning you. Laying down the burden of self-blame, my dear one. So often children of traumatic homes blame themselves, because to acknowledge that a parent's love was absent or conditional feels too terrifying. It must be my fault, the child thinks, because what parent would not love their child? But letting go of self-blame requires courage. It requires naming the reality that you were wronged. Blaming yourself might feel like you have some control, but in truth it is a false control that only perpetuates your wounds. Know that as you let go of self-blame, you do not fall into a void. You are not alone, adrift in bitterness or resentment. I am with you, holding you as you grieve the love you did not receive. Yes, you may feel anger, confusion, or betrayal at first. These emotions can be stepping stones to freedom, as they affirm that you deserved so much more. They acknowledge the wrongdoing rather than burying it within your soul. Releasing the inner critics hold imagine your internal critic as a guard left over from your childhood home, forever scanning the horizon for any reason to unleash punishment. This guard once tried to protect you in an environment where mistakes could be dangerous, where even a minor misstep might provoke a parent's rage or neglect. But now, in my presence, you have a safe place to lay that vigilance down. You can learn a healthier self-protection, one based on reality rather than catastrophic anticipation. No longer must you tiptoe around the illusions of your unworthiness. No longer must you follow that internal critic's commands to remain small, hidden, and silent out of fear. You are free to step forward to allow your gifts to shine, to discover the wide horizons I have laid out for you. Whenever you hear that merciless whisper, you messed up again. You'll never be good enough. Meet it with truth. I am on a journey of learning. My worth does not vanish with mistakes. I have the capacity to grow, to learn, and to stand firmly in my Father's love. The restoration of the healthy self-picture, my beloved. The seeds of healthy self-esteem that were planted in you from the beginning of your creation. In an ideal environment, they would have been watered by consistent affection and affirmation from your caregivers. They would have grown strong branches of self-confidence and leaves that exuded curiosity, resilience, and hope. But instead, the storms of abuse and neglect battered those fragile seedlings. Now, as an adult, you have the chance to replant yourself in the soil of my unconditional love, to create conditions that encourage your healthy ego to thrive. Cognitive healing teaches you to speak to yourself with kindness, just as you would to a dear friend in need. There is no place for relentless self-reproach here. As you integrate a gentler perspective on who you are, you align yourself with my view of you. Child, I call you worthy, not because you have performed perfectly, but because I created you with immeasurable dignity. When cognitive behavioral therapy feels insufficient, you might have experienced standard cognitive behavioral therapy, only to find that, while it helped you see your thought patterns, it did not fully eradicate the deep emotional wounds from your past. This is not evidence that you are beyond healing or that therapy is ineffective. Rather, it highlights that trauma often requires a multifaceted approach. Yes, a cognitive dimension is critical, for your mind shapes how you interpret your experiences. But the heart, your emotions, your sense of safety, your capacity to trust, is equally central. I encourage you to explore resources that address the emotional and relational dimensions of trauma. Approaches like attachment-based therapy, inner child work, somatic experiencing, or safe spiritual communities where you can taste acceptance and belonging. Psychological education and faith. The more you learn about CPTSD and its ramifications, the greater your capacity to recognize how your parents' failures influenced your self-image. This recognition can free you from burdens of false shame or condemnation. As you educate yourself, combine it with the practice of faith. Faith is not a passive stance, but an active acceptance of my truths over the lies you have carried. Faith says, I believe in the possibility of my healing, for I trust in the God who redeems broken things. My constant presence in your journey. You do not walk this road alone. In every valley, through every dark night of the soul, I am with you. Sometimes you may not sense me, but your feelings are not the barometer of my presence. I am a gentle father, a compassionate mother, a faithful friend, a living spirit of comfort who stands watch over you. The greatest reassurance I can give you is my faithfulness. My love does not wax and wane based on your performance. I do not cast you aside in your moments of relapse or shame. I stand steadfast, arms open, heart ready to envelop you in acceptance. Embracing the gift of mindfulness, you might ask, how do I keep my healing on track when my inner critic is so strong? One powerful tool is to cultivate mindfulness, a quiet awareness and observation of your thoughts without immediate judgment. In this space of gentle noticing, you can identify patterns like catastrophic thinking, perfectionism, or the reflex to blame yourself for everything. You can hold these patterns up to my light and test their validity. Observation. Practice noticing intrusive thoughts. Do not immediately push them away or cling to them. Simply notice their presence. Naming, call them by name. Catastrophic thought, self-blame thought, or harsh internal critic. Intervention. Before you react with panic or condemnation, ask if these thoughts are truly aligned with my view of you. If they are not, let them pass on like clouds in the sky. Child, do not underestimate the power of patiently observing your mind. Over time, you develop a calmer, more compassionate stance toward yourself, one that fosters genuine transformation rather than further shame. Awakening self-compassion. Many of you with CPTSD have a deep suspicion of self-compassion, as though offering kindness to yourself is some sort of moral failing or self-indulgence. In truth, compassion is at the very core of my nature. I show you grace beyond measure, not because you have earned it, but because I love you. Is it so strange, then, that I would invite you to extend a fraction of that same compassion to your own soul? Self-compassion does not inflate your ego. Rather, it nurtures a balanced recognition of your sacred worth. It allows you to rest in the knowledge that you are precious in my sight, that you deserve to treat yourself gently, especially as you heal from old wounds. Even as you show empathy to others in pain, you can learn to show empathy to yourself. Speak tenderly to your hurting parts, acknowledging their needs instead of beating them down. Offer warmth and acceptance where shame once festered. The freedom to blame where blame is due. In your childhood, you may have been forced to internalize the message that your parents' neglect or abuse was your fault. If only I could have been more obedient, quieter, more perfect, maybe they wouldn't have lashed out at me. But now that you are an adult, healing requires the courage to acknowledge reality, that you were indeed mistreated, neglected, or emotionally manipulated, and it was not because you were defective. This does not mean you must forever burn with anger. Rather, you release yourself from false guilt and let the rightful blame lie with the destructive parenting that failed you. Such acknowledgement can energize your healing. It frees you to move on, no longer exhausting yourself with the impossible task of rewriting childhood events to justify your parents' actions. You gain clarity and a sense of liberation. This was wrong. I deserved better. I deserve better still. And with that realization, you step into a future no longer defined by the past. Restoring your trust in relationships. Trauma often teaches you that vulnerability is dangerous, that you must hide your true self or face rejection. This can sabotage future relationships, isolating you from the support you desperately need. I urge you to seek safe people, therapists, support groups, friends, or communities of faith who understand the journey of healing and can hold space for your authenticity. Gradually, you can test small steps of vulnerability, witnessing that not everyone in this world will wound you like your parents did. I am a relational God, calling you into fellowship not only with me but with others. You are not designed to heal in isolation. Gently lean into connections that offer mutual respect and compassion. Let yourself be seen, known, and loved. The place of psychological education. Some of you may have read extensively about trauma, devouring books and articles, searching for answers. Others may have had minimal exposure to these concepts. Wherever you stand, understand that psychological education, learning how trauma shapes the brain, emotions, and sense of self, can be a powerful catalyst for growth. It demystifies your experiences, showing that your difficulties are not evidence of some intrinsic flaw, but rather the predictable consequence of wounding circumstances. Through such education, you come to see that your triggers, flashbacks, or anxieties often make perfect sense given your upbringing. And yet, you also see that they are not permanent. They can be managed, reduced, even transformed as you integrate new coping strategies and a new self-concept. You learn that you can choose to break generational cycles of pain, forging a new path for yourself and perhaps even for those around you. When the road feels long at times, your healing may seem like an endless road. You may stumble or relapse into old patterns. Hear my assurance: the path to wholeness is rarely linear. You may experience days of clarity and peace, followed by nights of confusion and doubt. Continue pressing forward, even when the journey seems slow. With each choice to speak kindly to yourself, with each moment you confront a destructive belief and replace it with truth, you cultivate deeper roots in my grace. Those roots will sustain you through storms yet to come. Over time, you will realize that your foundations have shifted. What once triggered an avalanche of shame or panic will merely prompt a mindful breath, a quick conversation with me, and a return to calm. This is resilience, the fruit of your dedication and my unwavering love. My heart for those who suffer child, my heart aches for those who endure deep emotional scars. The world can be harsh, and some families embody that harshness rather than unconditional warmth. Please know that I do not delight in your pain or stand by passively when you suffer. I have wept with you over every tear, felt every pang of loneliness, and heard every silent scream for help. In your darkest nights, I was there. I have preserved your spirit so that you might reach this moment, this threshold of healing where you turn from shame and condemnation to acceptance and hope. I will continue to be with you every step, whether you sense my nearness or not. Tending to the emotional layers while cognition forms a vital piece of healing, you are also an emotional being. Beneath your thoughts are feelings: anger, sadness, grief, longing, fear, that clamor for expression. Traumatic experiences are stored not just in your mind but in your body as well. Emotions can manifest physically through tension, fatigue, or a general sense of unease. Give yourself permission to process these emotions safely. You might write in a journal, engage in art therapy, or speak aloud to me in prayer, pouring out your heartbreak and your anger. Your emotions are not too big for me. I can handle them all. As you allow old feelings to surface and move through you, they lose their paralyzing power and make room for new life. The role of community in healing: I designed human beings for connection. I do not wish for you to walk your healing path in solitude. A gentle counselor can help you challenge distorted beliefs. A caring friend can remind you of your worth when your internal critic roars. A support group can validate that you are not alone, that countless others have risen above toxic childhoods to embrace healthy lives. To trust again may be frightening. You have experienced betrayal from the very ones who were meant to protect you. But I urge you, do not let the failings of certain individuals bar you from the gift of relationships altogether. Seek those who exhibit compassion, humility, and genuine desire to support your journey. Over time, these safe connections can rewire your expectations of how others respond to your vulnerability. When physical symptoms arise, trauma can linger in the body, producing chronic fatigue, tension headaches, or a racing heart at the faintest sign of conflict. Should such symptoms arise, do not judge yourself harshly. Understand that your nervous system is responding to old patterns of danger. Practice grounding techniques, mindful breathing, or gentle exercises like yoga that help regulate your body's stress response. When panic or hypervigilance grips you, call upon me. Let my presence be the grounding anchor that steadies you. Even a short prayer, "God, remind me I am safe in your love," can help you realign your body and spirit with the truth that the original threat is no longer present. You are safe with me. Confronting low self-esteem head-on. You have asked about self-esteem and how to know if yours is low. In my eyes, healthy self-esteem arises from embracing who you are as my beloved child, imperfect yet priceless. Low self-esteem, on the other hand, often manifests as relentless self-criticism, a sense of unworthiness, or the conviction that you are inherently flawed. It may cause you to shrink from challenges out of fear of failure or to compare yourself with others constantly, always finding yourself lacking. Take heart, for low self-esteem is not an unchangeable destiny. It is a habit of mind formed under difficult circumstances. You can learn a different habit, one rooted in truth. You do this by challenging negative self-talk. Every time the voice of condemnation whispers, counter it with affirmations from my word, from my heart. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am worthy of love and belonging. Accepting your whole self, acknowledge both strengths and weaknesses. You do not have to be perfect. You are allowed to learn, to fall short, to try again. Seeking appropriate support, whether it is therapy, mentorship, or close friends, receive encouragement and accountability as you reframe how you see yourself. As you walk this path, you will begin to see yourself with compassion, stepping away from the lie that you are broken, beyond repair. My child, you are never beyond repair. The fruit of cognitive healing: when you invest in cognitive healing, you set in motion a ripple effect, improved work and studies. Instead of sabotaging yourself through fear and perfectionism, you learn to approach tasks with curiosity and confidence, allowing room for mistakes and growth. Healthier relationships. With the internal critic quieted, you can connect with others from a place of authenticity and trust. You will no longer feel compelled to hide or perform. Joy and leisure. Freed from the idea that you do not deserve pleasure, you can reclaim activities that bring genuine delight: painting, reading, sports, music, or simply being in nature. Better self-care. You will listen to your body's signals and care for your emotional needs without labeling them as weaknesses. If depression or anxiety intersect with your low self-esteem, do seek professional help. These conditions can be managed and healed when addressed with openness and consistency. Therapy, medication, when necessary, and spiritual support can all converge to restore your sense of well-being. Transforming the narrative, beloved. You hold power to transform the story you tell yourself about your life. You no longer have to interpret your painful experiences through the lens of self-blame or condemnation. Instead, you can craft a narrative of resilience. Yes, I endured terrible pain, but I have emerged stronger, more compassionate, and more capable of helping others who struggle with similar wounds. Look upon your journey, not with shame, but with awe at the depth of your endurance. You continued breathing, continued hoping, continued seeking answers. This perseverance is itself a testament to your worthiness and potential. The spiritual dimension of your healing. Let me gently remind you of the spiritual dimension that weaves through your psychological healing. I am not merely an observer of your transformation. I am an active participant. As you dismantle the inner critic, I speak words of affirmation over your life. As you reject perfectionism, I remind you that my strength is made perfect in your weakness. As you relinquish the illusions of unworthiness, I delight in you, showing you glimpses of the destiny I have prepared for you. At times, you may feel you have no energy to keep trying. Let me be your fuel and motivation. Invite my spirit to help you unlearn destructive thinking, to anchor you in peace when old anxieties attempt to surface. With each step of faith you take, I meet you there, empowering you beyond what you thought possible. A home built on my love. If you have a family or hope to create one, my heart is that your home becomes an oasis of love, a place where my presence is palpable. In such a home, children grow without the harshness that once stunted you. Instead, they learn from your example how to be kind to themselves and compassionate to others. Your story of healing becomes a generational blessing, reversing patterns of trauma and ushering in a new legacy of warmth. You can cultivate a household of prayer and gentle communication, a place where family members can safely express emotions and be met with understanding rather than judgment. If you carry regrets about your own parenting missteps, bring them to me. I offer forgiveness and the grace to change. Remember, I am the Redeemer, and I specialize in rebuilding broken areas into sites of abundant life. The ongoing practice of surrendering your wounds, your fears, your internal critic to my care is not a single event. It is a daily practice. Each morning you awaken, let your first conscious act be an invitation to me. God, I open my heart once more. Guide my thoughts, guard my emotions, remind me of my worth in you. This sets the tone for your day, recentering you on the truth that you are my beloved child, not a captive of your past. When you sense the old patterns rising, panic, shame, self-sabotage, pause, take a deep breath, and return to this posture of surrender. Lord, I feel the old fear. Help me to remember your truth. Help me to show myself compassion. I promise I will be there, speaking softly in your spirit, directing your path toward wholeness. Gratitude as a balm for fear. Gratitude can shift your mind from scarcity to abundance. When negative thoughts weigh heavily, list the things, however small, that you can be thankful for. A new day, a comforting cup of tea, a supportive friend, a moment of calm. Each is a reminder that the darkness has not triumphed over you. Give thanks for the revelations and insights you have gained on your healing journey. Give thanks for the resilience that carried you through storms. Above all, give thanks for my unwavering, unconditional love that is at work even in your confusion. Gratitude dispels the murkiness of dread and allows you to see glimmers of hope. Embracing the unknown future with confidence, I know there are moments when you peer into the future and feel fear. You cannot control what tomorrow holds, but remember that I walk ahead of you. I am the God who prepares paths through the wilderness, who brings forth streams in deserts. Even if your healing process is not complete, even if you still stumble, trust that I can weave every thread, your triumphs and your setbacks, into a tapestry of purpose. My child, your future does not need to be determined by your past. Each day offers a fresh canvas on which to paint new possibilities, confident that your identity is secure in me. You are not alone. You are not unworthy. You are not defined by your trauma. You are infinitely loved, and your destiny shines with hope. A love beyond measure. Let this truth sink deeply into your heart. I love you with a love that surpasses human understanding. It is not based on your performance, nor is it withdrawn when you falter. I love you because you are mine, shaped by my hand, reflecting my image. Nothing can separate you from my love. Not your trauma, not your mistakes, not your fears. If you will abide in my presence, you will discover that my love is the most powerful force of healing you could ever embrace. Taking hold of your true identity, you may have worn many labels: broken, unwanted, never enough. Today, I invite you to exchange those labels for the reality of your identity in me. Beloved, redeemed, precious, capable of great purpose. These are not empty platitudes. They are the truths I have spoken over you from the beginning of time. Embrace them, repeat them, let them settle into your spirit until they shape the very lens through which you see the world. Faith in action. Steps to continue your healing. Daily reflection. Set aside a few moments each day to observe your thoughts and emotions mindfully. Pray or meditate on my love, letting it wash away negative self-talk. Educate yourself. Continue learning about CPTSD and its effects. Knowledge is power. Understanding the impacts of parental neglect or abuse can bring validation and direction. Seek support. Engage with a therapist who specializes in trauma, or join a support group. Find friends who can empathize with your journey. Lean on a community of faith that embraces my grace, not legalism. Practice self-compassion. Speak gently to yourself. In times of stress, remind yourself, I am worthy of care and kindness. Affirm your value with my words of love. Challenge the inner critic. When perfectionism flares or catastrophic thinking arises, confront it with truth. Name the distortion and choose a balanced, compassionate viewpoint. Embrace emotions. Write, sing, cry, paint, or talk. Whatever helps you express and process the emotion stored within. I am not intimidated by your sorrow, anger, or confusion. Stay connected to me. Through prayer, worship, or silent contemplation, invite my presence to fortify you. As you nurture this relationship, you will gain the courage to face your darkest fears, knowing I am by your side. Celebrate small victories. Each step forward, however tiny, is worth celebrating. Healing is a journey, not a race. My final assurance: I will never leave you nor forsake you. I have seen your tears and felt your anguish. I have heard your silent pleas when you doubted that love could ever mend your shattered heart. My beloved child, I am the God who heals, who restores, who makes a way where there seems to be none. I carry you in my everlasting arms and I call you by name. You are mine. Stand tall in the knowledge that your identity is rooted in my love, a love that transcends every wound. Move forward, no longer shackled by the crippling fears of your past or the relentless voice of perfectionism. You were created to soar, to shine, to bless this world with the gifts I placed within you. Healing is not a mirage, but a living reality you can step into. Let your faith be the quiet strength that lifts you beyond trauma's reach. Allow my presence to be the foundation upon which you build a radiant, purposeful life. In all your endeavors, remember, you are cherished, you are seen, and you are eternally held in my boundless embrace. Go forth now with unwavering hope, dear one. Even when the path twists and turns, I am your light in the darkness, your confidant in every loneliness, your unwavering companion through every trial. No storm is too fierce to quell the flame of my devotion to you. No mountain is too high for me to scale alongside you. Rest in my peace, for the best is yet to come. You are forever my beloved, your eternal Father, your faithful shepherd, and the lover of your soul.